600 בקבוקים נמכרו.
נומה, את לא יכולה לפתוח?
שלום לכולם, טוב לראותכם, אנחנו מיד נעלה, אנחנו מחכים לאחרונים שאיתנו. Bonne soirée, Thierry et Louis.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Nous juste attendons pour le client, toutes les clientes arrivées, commence avec la dégustation. Everything is good in Saumur Champigny?
Bonsoir Thierry, bonsoir Louise.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Ça va bien?
Oui.
Yeah. Beautiful weather. Perfect.
Daniel, speak French or speak English?
Well, it will be very difficult if we will do everything on French for the client, as we will have to do really big translation. So we can do a little bit move between French and English, but I know you know English very good. I know you brought your son, but I know that you speak very well English. Huh?
Louis speak very well English. I think, Daniel, because I make many different Zoom with Louis, and Louis explain the domain, the philosophy, because it's better, because his English is better, because you don't understand me now. And when you have question, I speak French and we translate. Or if you want some detail on my philosophy, la biodynamie, on the wines, the different wines, explain the terroir, etc., etc.
C'est parfait, okay. C'est parfait. Je dois que tu parles très bien anglais, mais c'est pas de problème avec lui. C'est mieux que nous parlerons aussi avec lui.
Il y a beaucoup de monde ce soir. Il y a beaucoup de clients?
Oui, il y a beaucoup de clients ce soir. Il y a plus... C'est 38 différentes clientes. Toutes les clientes recevoir le vin, la petite bouteille aujourd'hui, hier, depuis 2 jours. C'est bien, arrive parfait.
C'est pour les clients qui ont déjà acheté le vin ou pas encore?
Oui, il y a le vin qui est encore en marché. Il y a quelques vins qui c'est le premier temps qui c'est possible d'acheter le vin. Ça, c'est la première dégustation avec ton vin en Israël, qui est avec le Covid, avec le restaurant et tout, c'était pas facile. Et pour le moment, ça, c'est le premier moment pour ton vin en Israël actuellement.
Génial. Bon, ben c'est cool. Jusqu'à maintenant, la vente s'est bien passée dès 2018 que tu as reçu. Tu étais content?
Oui, c'est bien.
Oui, nous sommes contents.
Ouais. Très bien.
So, j'ai juste expliqué un peu en hébreu pour toutes les clientes et nous commencerons. Okay. אז כמה מילים שדיברתי פה בעצם עם תיארי, דיברתי איתו שזה בעצם היום זאת הטעימה הראשונה רשמית עם העיינות שלו בארץ. יש לא מעט מהעיינות שזאת הפעם הראשונה שתהיה גם אפשרות לרכוש אותם, במיוחד באתר, כמובן, כרגיל אחרי הטעימה, לאחר מכן עם ההפצה שלנו יגיע כמובן אליכם לבתים. הוא בעצם ידבר, חלק מהשאלות, כמובן הבן שלו, לואי, מדבר אנגלית יותר טוב היטב, אז הוא זה שיהיה יותר, יסביר קצת על היקב, על כל הדברים, וכשאנחנו ניכנס קצת יותר לניואנסים, יותר דקים, אז גם תיארי ידבר ומקסימום לואי יתרגם אותו, אבל ככה אנחנו צריכים עוד לחכות כמה דקות, צלל? עוד איזה 2 דקות אנחנו נחכה לכולם שיגיעו, ואז אנחנו נתחיל את הטעימה. So, how was, tell us a little bit about the frost you had 2 weeks ago. I was also visiting France that a bit after that time. I saw the disaster happened in the Rhone Valley. How was for you in the Loire Valley?
For us, it's quite good. We was impacted at 20 or 30%. So yeah, it's a pity, but when you compare with Burgundy or Jura or even the Rhone, we are quite lucky. And I think it's because of the Loire, thanks to the Loire River, who protected us, and thanks to, you know, the microclimates that we have here with the Loire River and the Touet and also the forest at the south. So all these microclimates enable us to be protected by the frost.
Ce qu'on peut dire, c'est que suite au froid, on a fait énormément de tisanes sur la vigne de façon à l'aider à recréer en fait ces.
Yeah, my father just said that after the frost, we had to think about like some solutions to recreate a life on the vine, and we decided to use like plants, like you know, kind of tea with plants. We use horsetail, which is prêle in French. We use chamomile and consoude. I don't know the word in English, sorry, but 3 types of plants in order to, you know, help the vine to recover, and also in order to fight against the frost. Also with the valerian, which was really important because we wanted to use the valerian to protect from the frost and to warm up a little bit the vineyards.
Et on voit déjà apparaître, grâce à ça en partie, quelques contre-bourgeons qui commencent à repousser grâce au soleil qu'on a eu juste derrière le
Yeah,
froid.
and just after frost, we can see with the sun new buds were coming out, and it's quite a good news for the next month.
Absolutely, that's really nice.
We're just waiting for.
So I think we should start, but let's do let us know what would be the right order for you.
Yeah.
Vous
For
préférez,
wines?
for the wines, do you prefer that we start with white and go to red?
No,
On va
we will.
présenter le domaine peut-être avant.
Wait a minute. We will start. I think we will start with the red first, and we will finish with the white. The first wine will be Marginal. The second wine will be Claude Léchelier. The third will be Les Mémoires. After Franc de Pied.
Mm-hmm.
And after the white one
Léchelier.
with Léchelier and Cloromont.
Absolutely. All right. So we will just write now the order for the clients, and we will start with the first wines. Let us know which wines. All of our clients, they have 2 glasses. So when you want to do any comparison and explanation about that, it is absolutely possible.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So we will post the first wine, and תצלל בבקשה תכתוב את הדברים. אז אני אגיד לכם בעברית רגע, אנחנו נתחיל עם היין שנקרא למרג'ינל. אחריו אנחנו נטעם את קלוד דה לשליה, זה יהיה היין השני שאנחנו נטעם. הנה אני יכול להראות לכם פה יותר ספוטלייט. אחרי זה אנחנו נטעם את ממואר לממואר עם הגפנים, שאתם יכולים לראות הגפן היפה, ולאחר מכן הפרנק דה פיה, זאת תהיה התווית לאחר מכן, ונסיים עם שני הלבנים לשליה, ובסיום נטעם את הקלורומה. So we can absolutely start, I think.
דניאל, תחזור בבקשה על הסדר, אני הלכתי לשים את הלבנים במקרר.
הסדר יהיה, היין הראשון יהיה למרג'ינל, תווית שרובה לבנה. צלל יעלה אותה עכשיו, תראה לכולם את למרג'ינל, שאנחנו מתחילים עם זה. ולאחר מכן אנחנו נמשיך לקלו דה לשליה, עם התווית הקצת סגולה באמצע, כזאת, כיתוב על התווית. לאחר מכן לממואר, הרבה גפנים לאורך התווית, ונסיים עם הפרנק דה פיה, שנראה כמו פסים, פס לבן, סגול וקצת סגול בעירית. לאחר מכן נגיע ללבנים, אנחנו נהיה איתכם, אם אתם צריכים לעצור אותנו, תעצרו. היינות בעצם, הם כבר יסבירו לכם את כל עניין היינות, את הצגת היקב, אנחנו מדברים פה על טעימה שהיא טעימה פנומנלית של יינות הלואר, יינות הכל מהכפר סומור שמפיני, ואנחנו נראה את המפות, כל הדברים, אנחנו מדברים על קברנה פרנק באדום ושנם בלן בלבן, יקב שהוא מדהים, עבודת קרמים מטורפת, הוא יסביר על כל הדברים שהוא עושה, אבל זה אחד הביקורים היותר מרגשים שהיינו בהם במשך שעות, לראות את הטירוף שהולך בתוך היקב הזה, פשוט יינות שהם קסם, יין, אני אתן להם את הבמה, וכרגיל בטעימות האלה אנחנו נהיה פה קצת על הטעמים איתכם, אבל ניתן להם את הבמה לדבר, תשאלו שאלות, מה שאתם רוצים, תיארי ישמח לענות לכם בערך על כל שאלה שיש לכם בראש. אז באמת לכו על זה, זה ממש הבן אדם. So I just explained a little bit about what we taste, the variety, and about the winery. But then I said you will be now for the explanation about the winery, about everything about that, and we will be here a bit about the tasting, what we feel, how we feel. And I told the clients they are free to ask any question, and Thierry will be very happy to answer every question they have.
Definitely, yes, cool. So yeah, we will make a quick introduction to the winery and to the vineyards. So hello everyone, because I didn't say hello.
Hello.
Hello everyone. Thanks to be here. So yeah, a quick introduction to the estate with my father. So my father arrived in Saumur. He was coming from Bordeaux at the beginning, and he arrived in 1992. So his first vintage was in 1992. He arrived in 1991, but he didn't vinify the 1991. And so very quickly when he arrived here, so it was an estate composed of only 12 hectares. And very quickly he decided to develop the estate. First to fight against the frost. At the beginning, so 12 hectares was located in what we call a cuvette, like where the frost was concentrated. It's what we call the entrecôte. And the frost was making a lot of damage on these vines, so he decided to develop the estates on the plateau, where you have more limestone soils, and he decided to develop the estate toward this area. And in 2012, he had the opportunity to buy the Clos de l'Echelier and Les Mémoires that you will taste tonight, which are two beautiful terroirs with very, very beautiful soils. And so because it was wonderful terroir, he decided to make one single vineyard for one cuvée. So it's what we call a cuvée parcellaire. So the wines that you will taste for Les Mémoires and Clos de l'Echelier, and even for Franc-Pied that he made in 2004, and even for Marginal, are wines coming from one single vineyard. And very quickly he decided to go toward organic farming. At the end of the 90s, the estate was converted in organic farming, and at the beginning of the 20s, he decided to go toward biodynamical farming, and he was certified in biodynamic farming in 2004. So with the first wine that you will taste, it's very interesting because this is an historical cuvée. So you are able to appreciate, if you have the opportunity to drink older vintage, you are able to appreciate all the evolution that you had on the estates. And until 2018, the vintage that you will taste, because in the 90s, the wines was totally different. You had very tannic wines, with a lot of wood. You know, my father was coming from Bordeaux, so he was making what he used to do. But with, you know, the change with the biodynamic farming and some meetings that he had with, for example, Charlie Foucault from Clos Rougeat or Gérard Gobi from Roussillon, he changed totally his way to make wines, and he started to go toward freshness and acidities, but beautiful acidities. We will bring back freshness in the wines, and thanks to that, the styles was totally different. And to do that, he decided to respect more the plants, more the vines, and he decided to avoid cutting the vine. So avoid that we call rogner. We are not cutting the vines anymore on all the cuvées that you will taste tonight, but we roll the vines on a fifth wire on the vines in order to don't aggress it. And it enables us to have different balances and definitively more beautiful balance that we had before. So with Marginal, I think it's a perfect example to notice it. Marginal, so the cuvées that you have here are coming from clay soils, so very rich soils. And all the work that we will have to do with this cuvée, it's to preserve the freshness and the balance in this cuvée with the clay soils that we have. Peut-être que tu veux rajouter quelque chose?
Oui, Marginal, on a commencé le travail sur les enroulements à partir de 2006, sachant qu'on avait des problèmes de maturité qui montaient très haut en alcool, et on a commencé à avoir cette réflexion de façon à pouvoir ramasser des raisins sur la fraîcheur aux alentours de 12,5-13 degrés d'alcool.
Yeah, so he said that the way to, you know, don't cut the vines and to roll it, it was made in order to catch the freshness in the wines, because in 2006, when we started to roll the vines and to stop to cut it, we had like big maturities with a lot of alcohols, and to preserve the balance and the freshness, we started to roll the vines and to catch the freshness.
On a pu voir en fait l'effet de ce travail du respect de la plante à partir de 2013, c'est-à-dire 7 ans après. La vigne a eu besoin de se reposer, de retrouver son équilibre parce qu'elle a été maltraitée pendant des années. C'est comme une personne qui est maltraitée, en fait, ça lui permet en fait de retrouver son identité.
So yeah, it took time. It took time to see the result of these new balances and this new freshness, and it took like more than 10 years for the vines to adapt itself to its new way to dry the vine. So it really took time to have this new effect on the vines.
Would you like? We will put the map. We will show you the map so you can indicate also the different places of the terroir that people can hear. The client can see a bit more what we speak about and where is the location of everything.
Yeah.
And so yes, זה עליהם. Okay, so here we will put that.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, tell us a little bit about about Saumur Champigny, about the Loire a little bit. 1 second that we can indicate a bit more about each parcel and what it is, but 1 second about the terroir of Saumur Champigny in global.
Yeah, you're right. So Saumur Champigny, it's located in Loire Valley. It's really a microclimate. So we have one famous terroir, which is clay and limestone. And the limestone, we are very lucky to have the limestone in Saumur Champigny, because the limestone is a stone that will keep the water. Like that, during dry weather, we are able to still have some water. So Saumur Champigny is making a triangle. So you have the Loire River to the north, the Thouet to the west, that you can see on the map, and you have a forest to the south, but you can't see it here. But a forest to the south, which is called the Forêt de Fontevraud. And so in this triangle, you have a microclimate, And this microclimate will protect us from a lot of things. For example, when you have like hail or frost to the north of the Loire River, often this bad weather will be stopped to the Loire. So that's really this triangle is making Saumur-Champigny. In addition, you can see that our estates have a lot of different vineyards. It's very that we call morcelé. It's not one big vineyard, and with all this terroir, like in Burgundy, yes, my father said, and each vineyard that you can see on this map is linked to a special terroir and to a special soil. So we have a diversity of terroir in Saumur-Champigny, which is really, really interesting. That's why we decided to develop these different cuvées, because we only have 2 grape varieties in Saumur-Champigny, which is Cabernet Franc, and for Saumur Blanc, also Chenin Blanc. And all the typical things that you will find in the different cuvées are coming from the soils. And that's why we wanted to show with my father the fact that we have plenty of different terroirs, and we wanted to highlight this terroir through the different cuvées that we selected.
Parce que pour moi, la notion de terroir est indispensable dans la notion de grand vin. Et un grand vin, c'est un sol qui va donner une fleur, qui va donner un fruit. Et nous, on est le lien entre le ciel et la terre pour trouver l'harmonie avec tout ça.
Yeah, because for him, the notion of terroir is linked to
c'est le lien entre le terroir, la fleur et le fruit.
Yeah, the notion of a terroir is a link between the flower, the fruit, and the soil, which is really important for him.
Et nous, on est le lien entre le ciel et la terre, et on doit comprendre cette harmonie, en fait.
And we are the link between the sky and the earth, and we have to understand all these harmonies that we have in the terroir.
Et c'est ça qu'on doit retrouver dans la bouteille, et c'est ce que j'espère que vous allez retrouver, parce que chaque vin que vous allez déguster a sa propre identité.
And that's what we have to find back in the bottles, because each wine has his own identity.
Perfect. So now I will just say just few words in Hebrew, and then we go deep more into each of the soils. אז בעצם אנחנו מדברים פה על עשייה שלוקחת בעצם את האזור הזה, סומור שמפינים, נקרא לו כפר אחד גדול מאוד בבורגון, ועשייה מאוד מאוד כיוון בורגוני בכמה דברים. אחד, קודם כל הפרדת חלקות.
בדיוק.
חלקות שונות, הפרדת חלקות, כל יין פה אנחנו נרד קצת בדיוק לטעמים של כל אחד וההבדל בין אחד לשני, לכן שמרו, שימו את היין הבא הרבה פעמים בכוסות כדי לראות את ההבדלים. ודבר שני, עבודת הקרמים. השירה של הקרמים בעצם הם לא חותכים את הקרמים, הם פשוט עושים משהו דומה למה שנעשה הרבה פעמים גם בעמק קרון, אבל בעיקר בלרואה שמבצעת את זה, ביזו שעושה את זה, ועוד כל מיני.
זה ממש פעם ראשונה שאני שומע על הסיבוב של הקנופי, כן?
ומה שכולם מדברים עליו היום, זה מה שהדבר הזה עושה, זה לשמור באמת על המון המון רעננות ביין, לקבל הפרי, הגפן מתפתחת באופן הרבה יותר אורגני, ומפתחת המשאבים, הרוחות, האוורור שיש לגפן, נותן הרבה יותר רעננות וביטוי מאוד מאוד עוצמתי של הטרוארים השונים. So, thank you very much for all this explanation. And when we can go now a bit deeper into each soil, so we will start with the marginal. I will be happy to put already the next wine next to the marginal so people can really understand why to do this different of the terroirs that will actually, the vinification is mostly the same. Most of the thing is really similar. Yeah. And in the end, we have such a big difference. So that's why we would like to put the other wine next to that. And we will be happy if you can explain us a little bit one thing more, your vineyard work with the horses and everything to do that. And the next thing would be very nice to speak about is the vinification process. Salel. Wait, we unmute you. Wait, we 1 second.
Okay, great.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you exactly that Daniel said. You're gonna see that you have a big difference between Claude Léchelier and Marginal, but the vinification process is quite the same. Marginal is made in wood tank.
Juste, en fait, chaque cuvée est travaillée par rapport à l'émotion qu'on a. Donc, il y a des petites différences dans le travail au niveau de la vinification.
Yeah. It said that each cuvée, so each wine is worked according to the emotions that we have. So you will find some differences in the vinification process, but not big differences. It depends of the humor of the day also, but mainly Marginal will be made in wood tank and Claude Léchelier as well. So the real difference will come from the terroir. Exactly as I said, Marginal is coming from clay, and Claude Léchelier, so it's one single vineyard, the clos, rounded by walls, and it's 1 hectare and 80 hours of vines, and it's directly on the limestone, the Turonian limestone. So it's a totally different terroir, and the style in the wines will be totally different as well, because you have the roundness of Marginal, but the tension in Claude Léchelier, it's quite white balance. I'm sure that if you close your eyes, so now it's too late because you already see the red, but if you was able to taste the wine in a black glass without seeing the color and you taste it, I'm sure that some ones could go on a white wine because you have totally different balance than on Marginal.
C'est très vertical en fait. Il y a un côté très cosmique dans le Claude Léchelier.
This is absolutely different palate, different texture.
Yeah.
You really have the really more
Sharpness.
coolness and more the fruit is more cool, more tight, more
much more
acidity there, and in the Marginal is much more round, much more pleasant even now to drink it on.
Because that's the clear on Marginal. And to preserve this profile, we will choose the content very carefully. For example, on Marginal, so Marginal are coming from the clay, so you have this round profile, as you said, Daniel, and that's why we will choose round fooder to have this exchange with the lees and all this stuff to continue to feed the wine and to preserve this roundness of the wines bring by the clay. And for Claude Léchelier, it's totally different because Claude Léchelier is when you taste the grapes, even when you taste the grapes in the vineyards, you have this vertical profile, very very tense and with a lot of acidities and all this stuff. And to preserve this profile, we will choose more oval fooder because you will have a contact between the lees and the wine will be less important. So like that, the lees won't feed too much the wine and we will preserve this verticality and this freshness. That's the work that, in fact, 99% of the work is made in the vines. And after, we are not like wizards. We are just people who is taking care of a new baby without making too much thing on the wine. And after this baby will just grow up by itself, thanks to the quality of the grapes that we had at the beginning. But this baby will grow up by itself. And us, we are like parents for a child. We're gonna, guide him without aggressing and without constrain him to do that and to do this. That's why we totally stopped to use new barrels and new oak and all this stuff, because for us, in our philosophy, we consider that as makeup. and we don't like that in our wines.
Et c'est important, Louis a complètement raison, et c'est très très important de respecter l'identité du terroir, parce que bien entendu, sur le Clos de l'Échelier, si on ramasse avec des maturités trop importantes, on va perdre complètement cette verticalité, ce côté cosmique qu'on a dans le terroir. Et sur la marginale, pareil, on va perdre en fait cette gourmandise et cette texture de bouche.
That's really important to preserve the identity of the terroir, because if you
Si tu ramasses trop tard.
if you for example, the day of picking is really important, because if you pick the grapes too late, you will totally break the balance and the freshness and all the balance that we want on the wine. It's really, and I will say that also, the day of picking is really important, even more for Clos de l'Échelier, because we are on wide balance, as I said. And if you pick up too early, you will fall onto the bad aspect of the Cabernet Franc, which is the pyrazine and the green peppers taste that we don't want. But we want the vegetal taste, the beautiful vegetal taste, because it's very typical of the Cabernet Franc, and we don't want to deny it. But if you pick up the grape too early, you will fall on the bad aspect of the Cabernet Franc, which is the pyrazine. But if you pick up too late, but it's a question of 1 or 2 days. If you pick up too late, you will fall on the, heavy wines, very difficult to drink, and you will lose the freshness. So the day of picking is really important. That's why we have another aspect on the estate, which is really important as well. It's a team, because every day during the harvest, all the team will go in the vines, take some grapes, and after all the team, we will taste each vineyards and decide together, have a discussion and all this stuff. We will decide in which vineyard we will go or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say just one thing on עיבוד. אז מה שאנחנו מדברים פה, באמת, שאלתם על החביות החדשות, אז באמת הורדה לגמרי העבודה עם החביות החדשות. אנחנו נחפש תמונה של עניין השורות והגפנים. אני רואה שהצטרף אלינו לכמה רגעים פה יאיר איידו. So Aidu joined us. He is in a very important meeting tonight, but he joined us for a few minutes because he would like to have a nice discussion with you, Thierry. Also, Yair is a great representative of the wines as well here. So, Aidu, shalom lecha.
שלום. היי.
אותך, טעימה קודמת היית פה בצד שלי, הפעם לא יכולת לבוא, אז הבמה שלך.
So first, I'm so happy to see you, Thierry. Salut, Thierry.
Salut.
Tu vois? Ça va, mon ami. C'est super. I don't know. I'm sure that you will taste the wines and you will understand exactly what Thierry is doing. And but I can only give you in a few minutes. And I apologize for not being able to be with you the whole tastings. We're tasting a vertical of C de Castel from 2001 until today, and in Magnums and with Eli Ben Zaken. And he asked me to tutor the tasting, so I'm here, and but I could not resist to say hello to Thierry and to his work, and to say also great words to Bourgogne Crown for bringing these wines here in Israel. It's a privilege, and I think that we are a better country now having his wines here. Maybe to put things in context, I think that Thierry Germain is one of the absolute leaders of the Loire Valley, not only in Semur-Champigny, but I think that he is the voice of a generation that is looking for truth, that is looking for authenticity. He came from Bordeaux with a very different philosophy, and himself, I can say, because although his father came first, but he was the one who really took all the big decisions. And I can tell you that knowing Thierry for so many years, it was not easy. It's not that one day you come and you understand it, but he had enough humility, which is one key in working with terroir. He had hard work, and I think that more than everything, he was never happy with easy, quick wins. He never was happy when it was about, as he said, the maquillage or just makeup. And I think that if you look at and see even Insolite from the early 2000s to today, it is absolutely, absolutely remarkable. In 50 years, we will still speak about Thierry Germain because he influenced a whole generation. Many winemakers are looking up to Thierry's work, and biodynamic is only one of them, but really giving every site, understanding really what is the parcel and what it needs and how to adapt the vinification to it, just to embrace the terroir is really something that I want to salute the work of Thierry. So I'm sorry if Thierry, tu n'as pas compris ce que je t'ai dit, mais bon, je dis que des bêtises. Mais en tout cas, je t'adore, j'adore ton travail. C'est une inspiration pour nous tous et pour toute une génération en Loire. Thank you so much, Daniel, Asaf, also for having me for a few minutes. I envy you, my friends, tasting these wines tonight. But it's a textbook. So bravo for Bourgogne Crown, bravo Thierry, and I see you soon.
עידו, תודה רבה. אנחנו ניפגש לטעימת ורטיקליות הבאות שנעשה עם שיבוא לפה. נראה לי שאנחנו נוכל לבנות איזה משהו מאוד יפה לזה, אחרי כל הדיבורי ורטיקל האלה פה על מרג'ינל, אינסולית, everyone here speak about the vertical. So this is not for Zoom, but when you will come here to Israel, Thierry and Louis, we will do with Yair a very nice verticals to show the people how great this wine age and how actually it's one of the world top value for money, I think, today for a private client to buy those wines and have the option to age for so long.
Can't wait to do that.
Fantastic. Salut. Ciao. Bye.
Thierry, back to you. So we got a really great vision about the difference between the Marginal and the Clos de l'Echelier, really, you know, to understand why to do two different wines and two different from these two different vineyards. One is really the one more clayish, more round, more charming, you know, and the beautiful one. And with the Clos de l'Echelier,
I think Thierry spoke so much about identity in the wines, and it's just, you just feel the wine and you see the identity. And of course, this one was raised on clay soils, and this one was raised on limestone, more hard soil. In the texture, you immediately feel in the acidity, in the fruit profile. It's, if you're not a wine drinker, if you're not a wine lover, and you taste those two wines, you immediately feel a big difference in the style of the texture, in the acidity, and the fruit profile. You don't have to be a genius to notice that. You just have to concentrate, taste, and really just feel the terroir
in the mouth.
Yeah,
thank you. That's a good news, because it means that we don't work for nothing.
Nice.
You don't, and also, can you tell us a bit the work? You do work also with a very low use of SO2.
Oh yeah, le fait qu'on n'utilise pas beaucoup de soufre. Yeah, it's really important to say.
Vas-y.
Non, vas-y.
En fait, concernant le soufre, explique, après je dirai ça. Après. Vas-y, explique.
So yeah, regarding the sulfur or the sulfite, we are using a little bit of sulfite, but very few sulfites, because when you have the balance and when you have when you are very careful at the cellar, and when you have a wine which is free, you are able to don't put a lot of sulfur. And for us, sulfur will enable a dead wine or a wine we are coming from like chemical culture to support the time. I invite you to make the taste, to take one bottle from us, one bottle of the Domaine des Roches, to open it, and you take one glass, and in 1 week you're coming back to the same bottle. You keep it in a good area, and after you take it, after 1 week, you reopen it. The wine will be totally different, but will be still good. Do the same thing with another wine with a lot of sulfur, and you will see that the wine will take a lot of oxygen, and you will fall in a dead wine, because our wines are free, and thanks to this this
L'expression du sol, en fait.
thanks to that, we are able to avoid putting a lot of sulfur. That's the expression of the soil, and we are very lucky in Loire Valley to have a low pH. So it means big acidities, and these big acidities enable us to don't put a lot of sulfur, enable us to avoid a lot of problem during fermentations, to enable us to avoid putting a lot of sulfur in the whites, to stop the malolactic fermentation and all this stuff. Thanks to this pH, thanks to the expression of the soil, thanks to the expression of the limestone, will bring some acidities in the wines. We are able to totally reduce our amount of sulfur.
אז בעצם מה שמדברים כאן, מה שאני דיברתי איתו קצת, זה על כל התוספות של הגופרית, ודיבר על זה שהם מוסיפים ממש מעט. אנחנו פה מדברים על ייננות שהיא מחושבת, מלאת מחשבה ועבודה, מהרגע הראשון עד הרגע האחרון. זה ייננות על. זה עבודת קרמים. אני לא ראיתי עובדי קרמים שעובדים קשה, כמוהם, מחושבים, מגיעים עם כל טרואר ליקב, אחד בחביות יותר גדולות, בנירוסטות, בהכל, אפס עבודה עם עץ חדש, עבודה פשוט מביאים את הפרי הכי מטורף שיש, עובדים איתו הכי נכון שיש, שומרים אותו, ומגיעים לבקבוקים שיכולים להישמר מדהים. שמע, זה עינות מרגשים. The wines are exciting. They have so much energy. And they perform so beautiful. I mean, each terroir is so different, but then you have the backbone of this kind of energy, freshness, and the structure of the tannins is something remarkable. For me, the greatest thing about your wines is the beautiful structure of tannins, which usually people here know Cabernet Franc and how it can be, and this playing this fragile game between the structure of the tannins, the acidity, the ripeness, which you don't feel any vegetal notes, and you have this kind of florality, which you find in Cabernet Franc. It's more like a green floral notes, and it's, me, I'm a huge fan of Cabernet Franc from the Loire.
That's interesting you said, because that's our goal. That's our goal, to have this floral taste that you have, this structure in the tannins, because the tannin is really important. Yeah. And that's our goal, to have this balance between this structure and this aroma and this floral notes that we don't want to deny.
Pour moi, la qualité des tanins est importante parce que le Cabernet Franc est un cépage rustique au départ, et j'ai beaucoup travaillé dans le respect de la plante et le respect du sol et dans l'amour qu'on apporte à la vigne pour avoir cette qualité de tanin-là, qui est vraiment 30 ans de travail.
Yeah, he really worked, because for him, the quality of the tannin is really important, because Cabernet Franc at the beginning is a very rustic grape variety, and the structure of the tannin that you have, the quality of the tannin that you have, even more on marginal, it's really interesting to have, this texture like behind a pink, the floral, the flower, when you touch behind the like very smooth tannins, and for him it's the result of 20 years of work.
I must say that for me, sometimes I like to say, the highlight of any of our winery and what it is. For me, the most beautiful tannins exist in the world of wine is the wines of Thierry Germain. This is the most beautiful structure of tannins exist. If we speak about, in Pinot it's a bit different, a bit that, but in each thing, and with Cabernet Franc, to work with this kind of structure, which you have a lot of power, with low mass, and this kind of beautiful tannins, this is a work that it's almost, do not exist.
I must admit, it's a little bit remind me of, maybe Rohania reminds me a little bit of Thierry Germain, but the work with the tannins, like they're strong, but they're still so silky, and they're in a perfect balance with the acidity and the fruit. And I think you said it right. It's all about the vineyard, and it's all about the fruit coming from the vineyard. That's why they don't use no new oak, no small barrel, no Burgundy barrels, only demi-muid and larger, and it's only to maintain freshness and maintain the fruit character, which is just
we will move now also to, we will put the memoir in the glass, so you can have also a little bit explanation about the memoir. We will just 1 second put the label that everyone will know what we drink. After that, we will put back the map 1 second to see where was the Marginal, the Claude de l'Echelier, and now the memoir. And after that, or during the explanation, we will put here our media guide, our media manager of the company. He will put the photos from that you sent us from that people here can see what we speak about with so much enthusiasm.
We actually have photos of Les Memoirs, so it will be great to have photos of Les Memoirs and
from the winery after. So we will just put 1 second the memoir photo also, and then people here can see a little bit about what we speak about the vineyard, and then we can also see the huge, beautiful barrels from this most beautiful cellar I have visited.
Me too. It was a memorable visit, going down the cellar so many steps and then seeing this very cold cellar and one small solera at the side.
Très grand mémoire.
Très grand mémoire. Just one, just small.
So here we can see, and you can tell a bit about the memoir and the difference here.
Yeah, so Les Memoirs, it's a vineyard that my father bought in 2012, and it's the highest point of the appellation. The vineyard, when you are in the vineyard, the energy in these vines is impressive, because you have the energy of the Loire River down because when you are at the beginning of the vineyards, you are able to see all the Loire River with coming in front of your eyes. So it's an open landscape, and just so in front of you, you have the Loire River, and behind you, you have these old vines planted in 1904. Everyone who wanted to buy these vineyards wanted to just remove these old vines. And my father arrived and he said that you can't just remove these plants. You have to keep it and to help it to give what she can give, you know. And so obviously the yields are very low because it's old vines. You can make the comparison with a human. If you take a young vine, you will have yields, a lot of yields, and you will have plenty of grapes. But you know the balance won't be here directly. If you take the old vines planted in 1904, the yields, you don't have a lot of grapes. You have small grapes, and the tendency even during pruning, you just follow the vines and you don't prune like in other vineyards. You just follow the vines, follow that she wants to say, and so you don't have lots of grapes, but the balance is just extraordinary. On the soils, you also have a specific soils because you have clay and limestone, but also flint. So this salinity that you will have at the end of the palate, almost a white salinity as well. That's interesting because I speak a lot about the white wines, but because my father decided when he stopped analysis, when he stopped using analysis and all this stuff, he decided to follow his emotions, and he fall into these new balances. And with Les Memoirs, with the flint, with the salinity that you have at the end of the palate, you can again find some balance of white wines as well, but with the structure of the clay and the structure of the limestone.
So for me,
les silex, ça servait à la fois à faire du feu et à faire des armes. On a à la fois le côté chaleureux du milieu de bouche et à la fois le côté un peu strict en fait de l'arme.
Yeah, that's the comparison. It's just said that flint, human was using flint to make fire, and was using flint to make weapons. And in this wine, you have these two sides. You have the warming side of the fire, but you have also the very strict profile of the weapon. And I think it's a good. So I think it's a good, balance between Marginal and Claude Lechelier. I think it's Marginal and Claude Lechelier, but together. That's interesting because you have
some more power for me, with some more power
extra
in
dimension
it. So
to the wine.
I will just say one thing in Hebrew, and then I will come back to you on English, because for the memoir. So, אז באמת אנחנו כבר עברנו פה 3 יינות, שכל אחד מהם הוא באמת מיוחד מסוגו. אנחנו יכולים לראות, היין הראשון, המרג'ינל, היה לנו כזה, המשהו הקצת יותר עגול הזה.
הג'וס יותר, היותר easy going, הפחות חומצה, ואולי גם טיפה פחות מורכב מהקלוד לצ'לייה, ואז
ששם קפצנו למשהו שיותר היה מינרלי, חד, חומציות יפה, יין שהוא מאוד, הוא הולך ההתפתחות שלו תהיה מאוד כזאת פרחונית ומאוד מהירה יחסית, וכאן אנחנו מדברים בממואר בין שילוב של שניהם, אבל עם משהו כל כך מורכב, מורכבות פשוט מטורפת. אנחנו מדברים פה על לקחת אולי את החלק של החמר שהיה, וחלק של המינרליות שהיה, לחבר את שניהם, גבוה גבוה, בלי מסה גדולה, אבל עם סופר סופר מורכבות, ובאמת יין ענק. אני חייב להגיד לכם ששתיתי את היין הזה לפני 3 חודשים בערך, שהוא רק הגיע, הוא היה ככה, באמת, אמרתי, וואו, זה פצצת אטום מטורפת, ומאוד מאוד כיף לטעום אותו עכשיו, ולראות איך הוא התפתח קצת, וזה יין שלקחת, אין הרבה קברני פאנק אולי בלואר, גדולים מזה, זה יין שאתה יכול לקחת אותו ולעכשיו לשכוח ממנו גם 2018 גיא, וזה יכול לקחת, זה יין שנוכל לשתות אותו גם ב10, 20 וגם עוד 30 שנה, והוא יהיה יין ענק פשוט.
ענק.
So what I have to say about the memoir, you spoke before about your arrival to the Loire Valley and a bit changing style, speaking a bit with Charlie Foucault and Sam. So for me, this is a real reminder of the Charlie Foucault's use a bit and Clos Rougeard. It's a huge reminder for me of Clos Rougeard, but it's 18. So it's not the, usually we have to go, so long time with Clos Rougeard with a different style, with the wood, with the, the different way they work. But here, if we speak, I drank 2011 Clos Rougeard last week, the regular one. This is more reminding for me of Poyot 08 that I had this week. And it's unbelievable how in this young side of the wine, you give this kind of elements and all this beautiful structure, and with this kind of the salinity.
The salinity is really high here.
So I'm sure this is not the same style we have today for Clos Rougeard, maybe. We don't know, maybe you are closer there to tell us what's going on. But this is the old school. This is coming with a new technique to bring the most old school exactly. Of finesse.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to add that we love to be compared to Clos Rougeard, but our goal is not to be compared to Clos Rougeard, because Charlie was close to my father was close to Charlie, but he didn't want to. He really wanted to find his path. And that's interesting, and my father is really happy to be compared to Clos Rougeard, but our goal is to make our own path.
Of course, it's not about it's about
no, but you understood that
it's the same area. It's not bad. It's like making a Von Romané Syrah.
I know.
Reminds me a bit of Romané Conti, but not with the 100% new. It's coming on the young side. Wow!
And Daniel, you can say that.
So that is if I can compare to another place. So here I prove my point.
Compare it to Romané Conti. I love it as well.
Right. So actually it's such an unbelievable wine, and I just said that I drank it about 3 months ago, and I'm so happy we just release it now, because it was like, it had the muscles before, and now it's unbelievable what happened and how this wine is so delicate and have all this kind of power. This this terroir is unbelievable. And Talal, please give us the map so they can work a little bit and show us in the map what's going on.
And that's interesting. You said that because 2018, it's still quite young for wine, Daniel. But our work with my father always said that a great wine has to be good during all its life. Absolutely. So it has to be good just after bottling. It has to be good after 1 year, after 2 years, and it has to be good after 10 years. And for us, 2018, it's really, really good today. And I'm sure it will be extraordinary in 10 years. Because in 10 and 20 years, and even after. Because again, we have this pH, we have these acidities, and these acidities enable us to have beautiful wines when they are young, and it will preserve the wine after 10, 20, 30 years. Compared to wines where you have a lot of tannins, which are a little bit more difficult to taste at the beginning when they are young, because you have too much tannin, it's too, the texture, it's too rustic and very hard to drink. But after 20 years, it will be extraordinary. But you start to excuse the wine. Right. And as soon as you start to excuse the wine, it means that there is a problem in the wine.
My grandfather says that.
Yeah, of course.
Always good to learn from the grandfather, huh?
And Daniel,
always the best one to learn from.
Daniel, before in 93, I say to my clients, taste the 93 after 5 years or 6 years. And why? And because I have more oak in my wines. And now I understand what my grandfather said to me. I understand since 2011 or 2012, and I say, okay now.
So well, that's a great story as well to hear and see that and see how you still learn and learn. זה כל כך יפה לראות איך הוא ממשיך ללמוד ומדבר על הסבא בזה שתחשבו שהבציר הראשון שלו זה 92 והוא אומר הבנתי את זה ב-2012, 20 שנה אחרי הבציר הראשון. What I also said to the clients is that, like you said, 20 years, I said that this wine can be enjoyable now, in 10 years, in 20 and 30 years. It will be huge as well. So that's a good proof of the point. So about the map, we really moved a bit for the memoir.
To a different side of... it's not... Le Mémoire, it's in Saumur, in the village of Saumur.
No, it's Dampierre. The village, it's Dampierre-sur-Loire.
Yeah, Dampierre-sur-Loire.
So Saumur, it's at the left side, and Les Mémoires, it's Dampierre-sur-Loire.
C'est le point culminant de l'appellation.
That's the I said it. Yeah, highest point of the appellation.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by forest, as we can see, right? Yeah, that's why it really feels like a cold terroir. Also, the Clos de l'Echelier, you immediately felt the coolness in the wine. And in Marginal, you felt the juiciness, the good texture, the more roundness. And it's a really two-side, I guess, of the appellation of Saumur-Champigny. Is it the normal, like that the south, I'm going to call it the south side near Varennes, and the northeast side near Dampierre-sur-Loire? Like this is the character of this, let's say, terroir. Like this one is a little bit more clayish on this area, and on the top, on the north side, it's a little bit more limestone, close to La Loire.
So the norma is where you have the vineyards, la Marginale, so les dards. When you have these vineyards, the norm here you have a lot of clay. That's where you have the most clay on the estates, and on fixed meters, in the soils. And when you go more at the north, where you have all the vineyards called Les Beauces, Le Pilon, all these vineyards just more at the north, you're coming back on the limestone because you are on the plateau. So you don't have the topology here, but you have a cuvette, and after you arrived on the plateau, and after on the west, you arrived on Les Mémoires. So it's even higher. So the cold side that you have could bring from that.
All right. So I think after see that, it's very interesting that now we moved. Our first wine was the Marginal coming from show them where in the southern west side, and now we will just go back to this side after we tasted two wines from the different terroir of Dampierre, and now we will go to taste a very, very, very special wine.
Yeah. Exceptional.
It's gonna be
the freest wine of the estate.
the freest wine. So Franck de Pied is coming from two vineyards or just one?
Yeah, two vineyards. One vineyards and the made with a pruning of Guyot, and one vineyard with a gobelet and échalas.
Travail au cheval.
Yeah, I will say.
So I will just draw for us.
That's a perfect circle.
Perfect
circle.
And here we are.
Yeah.
All right. So the wine, the last red for everyone, the Franck de Pied, and you will have now a very special wine that now Louis will explain you about this very special vineyard. Salel will show that. You saw the map before we tasted as 1 second in Hebrew. So אז לפני זה טעמנו, התחלנו בצד הזה, בחלק הדרומי שלו בעצם, עברנו לחלק של כפר השכן יותר, עם חלקות קצת, עם יותר אבן גיר, יותר פלינט, יותר מינרליות כמו שטעמנו.
יותר גם קרבה לנהר, שמשם זה נובע כמובן.
ועכשיו אנחנו הולכים על אותו גובה, אבל חוזרים לחלק המזרחי יותר, המערבי יותר, סליחה, החלק המערבי יותר, ובואו נראה את הדמיון והכל. זה גם כל כך כיף לטעום את אותו בציר. כל כך כיף, פשוט לטעום את אותו בציר, אותו יצרן, ואת ההבדל בין החלקות ממש כמו טעימה של, אתה יודע, כמו כפר אחד בבורגון של היצרנים הטובים ביותר, הגדולים ביותר, אותו בציר, באמת הבנה. בשבילי, ביין יש 3 מרכיבים. היצרן, החלקות, והטרואר והשנה. וברגע שאנחנו לוקחים 2 מרכיבים ושמים אותם אותו דבר, מאותו יצרן, אנחנו באמת יכולים להבין לחלוטין את המרכיב השלישי. זאת אומרת, להבדיל פה בין השנה רגע והיצרן רגע, ואז לקחת את כל הטרוארים השונים ולהבין אחד בדיוק מה שקורה. אז רק אני שבהם יש ריח של עשן מעודן.
עשן מעודן? אני קצת מרגיש שיש משהו באמת קצת מעושן ביין, מה שאני תמצת את זה, כי קלודל שלי היה לי עם פרי מאוד ווילד ונורא אדום ורענן וצעיר כזה. הממואר היה עם משהו טיפה יותר שחור, אדום ועמוק מאוד. ופה אני באמת מרגיש אופי טיפה, אני חושב, יותר אדמתי, יותר הצד האדמתי של קברנט פרנק, פחות הפרחוניות, הארומטיות. אני כן חושב שזה מתקשר מאוד לטרואר ולצד שהוא נמצא בו בסומור שמפיני. אני מקווה גם שתיארי יוכל להסביר לנו מעט יותר באמת על החלקה.
So tell us a bit about the wine.
The
Franck de Pied.
Yeah, so Franck de Pied, I think it was when my father went in biodynamic farming, I think his first, I think, no, I don't think, I'm sure, his first thought was how to, I think, come back to the real taste of Cabernet Franc and how to bring back also the animal in the vines. And because the third aspect of all the philosophy of the estate is also the aspect, because we talked about the plant, we talked about the human, but I think the third aspect is the animal. And I think so that's why my father decided first to plant ungrafted vines, but to plant these ungrafted vines, you have to plant it on sandy soils because you still have phylloxera, and the phylloxera can still attack your vines. So we have a vein of sand, and our 2 vineyards that you saw on the map before are located on this vein of sand. And so he decided to plant ungrafted vines to come back to the real taste of the Cabernet Franc without the rootstock. And he decided to make it with high density of plantation. So the first vineyards that he planted was the Franc-Pied with 10,000 feet, 10,000 plots per hectares. So high density of plantation in order to bring back the animal in the vines. And now these two vineyards are planted are 10,000 feet per hectares and 8,000 feet per hectares for the second vineyards, and are worked with horses. Why the horse? It's to avoid pushing too much on the soils and to keep the soils aerated, to still have life in the soils. And the life that you have in the soils, thanks to all this work with the horses, with all this way to respect the vineyards, you will find it back in the wine. Because, you know, my father always talk about the sand. When you have the sand in your hand, the sand is free. You can't keep it in your hand. It's exactly the same for Franc-Pied. Because when you taste Franc-Pied, it tastes totally different than the other wines.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest wine on the estates, and that's the wine where you have the less amount of sulfur as well. You have quite zero sulfur. You still have a little bit, but zero sulfur in this wine. And it's all bench. We use all bench in this wine. We are not. We don't like all bench. Use all the bench during the vinification, but you can do it with Franc-Pied, because with Franc-Pied you have small bench, very small bench, and so the stamp is rape at the same time than the grape. So we are able to use the stamp with the grape during vinification process. So in addition of that, you have all these three aspects of the wine that you will find in this wine.
About the fermentation with the clusters, with the stems.
Yeah.
You make a carbonic maceration, or you just put the stems afterward? You destem and afterwards you add some clusters.
We are making some ladder.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
some with, some without, and again.
Exactly. It depends. In fact, it depends of the vintage. Because so on 2018 we use like almost 80% of stamp. On this vintage, so in 2020 we use 100% of stamp. But on some vintage, if for example gold vintage, we won't use the stamp at all, because we don't want to bring back like green side and pyrazine in the wine. So it really depends. But when we are making vinification with stamp, usually we are making some ladder, but it's not a carbonic maceration.
This wine actually, you know, okay, I can appreciate very much the aromas which are different from the other ones, and the taste when it comes to your mouth, you can feel it different. Actually, it's very sandy. It's like you coming to your mouth and then it's going. But what it's staying, this wine has endless length. Endless length. It's just keeping and keeping and keeping, starting with something more metal, and then it's just keeping this kind of taste running on your palate and making all your teeth have different when they touch each other. Suddenly, it's like the material is different.
The tannins are a little bit sandy, so you almost feel the tannins on when you chew.
That's the goal, definitely.
And it's unbelievable the way of the saliva is coming back.
I think the saliva, in contrast to the weight of the wine on the palate, of its intensity, it's just really the balance is out of this world.
And that's interesting because you talked about again the tannins, and that's exactly what we want. My father said that when we don't want the tannins that are coming just on the side of your mouth. We want the tannins who will bouncing in your palate and around the mouth. And I think you can feel it, especially on Franc-Pied.
Yeah, it's totally different. We have one client saying that it's so interesting that the fruit and the florality are still there in a very different way in the palate. It's so unusual the way this wine is staying in your palate, and it's
the wine was built, I think, on saliva, because we're playing with our spit, we're playing with the saliva. It's always,
but without any jamminess.
Yeah,
it's
no
not
jamminess,
jammy,
no texture almost, but just so much flavor.
Wow.
And
this is a really, and I mean, these two wines, the Franc de Pied and the Memoire, to taste one next to each other, it's amazing because you have all these kind of the things. The Memoire, there is no. None of the wine is greater than the other. They are different,
yeah, of course,
totally different. And you love this texture of the Memoire and with the power and with everything. And then you have in the Franc de Pied this like endless mouth feeling.
Yeah, I really thought that we're gonna do the tasting a little bit different, in a different order. I thought we're gonna taste Franc de Pied first, Clos del Chalier, Franc de Pied, and then Le Memoire. And after I tasted Le Memoire, I kept asking myself, well, why are we gonna taste Franc de Pied afterwards? And after I taste Franc de Pied, I just understand it's a whole different wine. It's still Cabernet Franc, of course, but in a very, very, very different aspect.
That's funny because you just said my father wanted to say something and you just say it. So you think exactly the same thing that my father.
The ear, my
great
earphone
connected. Great minds think alike.
Yeah. Maybe someday I'll become the best vigneron in Saumur.
Yeah. Maybe someday you will be a competition for me.
Yeah. Amazing. So I mean, we had. We just spoke so much here about four reds, each one completely different. Both have the winery style, but it's so nice that from some point I say that with a bit more signature on each wine, it would be more easy for all the market to understand Thierry wines. But then to really understand his wines and what is his signature, you have to taste those wines one next to each other, because here we feel so much difference between each wine, and we feel this exactly same kind of mouth feeling he tried to bring on. And please show us the winery, the barrels. This wonderful picture to see where these people sitting there at home. It's so clean, and everything. And you are going to see some of this most amazing picture with so much sand even inside the winery. That is such a wonderful thing. And now you can see. Explain us a bit about this wonderful photos that we will put one by each other of your cellar.
So here we are. So we are very lucky in Saumur-Champigny because we are not alone. We are a lot of winemakers have this type of cellar, and this type of cellar will participate to the style of the wines as well, because you have 99% or 95% of humidity. It's a constant temperature. So like that, we are able to keep the wood humid. So we don't have problems with tannins of the wood in the wine and all this stuff. We don't have problem with evaporation of wine. So with this 95% of humidity, we will be able to keep the wood wet. And like that, we avoid a lot of problem in the cellar. And you have the perfect sample in the cellar, in this cellar. You have the perfect sample of the terroir, because you will find the sand, the limestone that you have, and the clay in several parts of the cellar. So it's a real sample in real life in front of you, in front of your eyes. So you are inside the elements in the cellar.
Et philosophiquement, pour nous biodynamistes, on élève le vin dans le ventre de la mer.
And for us, philosophically, in biodynamic, we are raising the wine in the stomach of the mother. Not the stomach, but I don't know the word in English.
Well, yeah, it's
The
very
stomach
deep.
of nature.
We know
Stomach of nature,
it was not easy to go down in this cellar, huh?
Very not easy. And to come up,
And
to come up after the Solera was no, I didn't want to come up.
No, we want to stay with the Solera down.
Daniel, Solera, it's for 23. Little bottle for 23. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I put in bottle.
We are so
Wow.
happy to
We are happy
know that.
and
We
it's
will
good.
not tell our clients yet the secret. They will have to, search for it by themselves. And
It's good you shared it now
Yeah.
and not when Haidu was here. It was.
And Paul, he doesn't need. Paul doesn't need
No.
bottles. You can give us Paul
Too much.
bottles. He
Too
doesn't
much.
need.
Too much.
We have too much bottles, And now he retired and everything. He doesn't need too much energy.
Yeah.
So you could see, as 1 second, I will tell the guys, אז ראיתם פה בתוך המרתף המטורף הזה גם באמת את הליבה של מה קורה מתחת לכרמים האלה. גם ראיתם את החול, את האבן גיר, זה באמת מרתף מטורף. יום אחד הכל ייפתח ונוכל לעשות טיול מדהים בלואר, זה אחד הביקורים הכי מדהימים שיש, זה הביקור הזה. באמת.
ממש ביקור לא שגרתי כמו שליאור פה רשם.
So, we can move to the whites. So you can give us, after we know, I think we have so much more knowledge now.
Exactly.
Because
it was very needed.
Yeah, at the wine, also at the winery we had Thierry, so we had to sit very careful, and hear everything in French and understand and work on everything. And now we got more complete about the idea and the winery.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to be a big supporter. I'm such a huge believer of the wines. From the first moment I tasted them, it was so great. And then I flew to Vietnam, and I had from the girl worked in Guiberto, so she gave me a contact of wine shop in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, they feel no mercy for the people. They give 150% tax, something crazy. So it was so great to find, next to I don't know, and the money in Vietnam have so many zeros. I saw one bottle of Domaine Leroy. It was like 47 billion Vietnam something, It was so funny there to see that. But then I was so happy to see not a big selection, but a small selection, and with some old vintages and everything of L'Insolite and Marginal. And I just put myself all 6-9 bottles at every shop that I found in Red Apron. It was the shop. And it was first in Hanoi and after in another city, but it was so wonderful to have your wines there with me at all the trip in Vietnam, opening them in different places, enjoying so much. I had those and some of the De Vilaine wines, but then I could really know them more and more, and it was great because I could have some really age marginal that we spoke about. Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah. What? Yeah. So, אנחנו נציג עכשיו את היין הלבן הראשון. So, you can tell us a bit about now Shena, your Shena, and about the Chelier.
So, it's perfect tonight because you will taste the two different limestones that we have on the estates. So, the Turonian limestone and the Senonian limestone. But first, let's talk about Chenin, because for us, but we are not objective, but for us, it's one of the best grape variety for white wines in the world. Because
Savagnin and Riesling.
Yeah, with Savagnin and Riesling. But because for us, you can do everything you want with the Chenin. So you talked about the Solera. For us, we are making we want, thanks to the terroirs that we have, we want these fresh wines with with a lot of tension and the vertical side of the wines. But you can also make, we are not making that, but you can make like wine with wood, the South African Chenin are also phenomenal. So you can make everything with Chenin. So it's sweet wines and all this stuff. So everything.
Vouvray for sweet. You can do oxidative.
Yeah.
You can do everything with
The
Germain.
sparkling.
Exactly.
You like
Exactly.
very versatile.
Yeah. So with l'échelier, exactly the same for Clermont. You will see it's exactly the same vinification process for these two wines. It's very long press. During 4 hours, we put it in the pressoir. So it's pressed during 4 hours. Because for us we think that it needs time to just have what we want. And after we have this débourbage à froid. So we put the settlement is made just with cold. After 12 hours, we will remove the bad lees that we don't want. And after the fermentation will be made partly in stainless steel tank until the mid fermentation. And at the mid fermentation, we will put the wine in the barrels in the cellar. And after, we don't touch the wine anymore.
Ce que j'aime, comme dans les vins rouges, dans le blanc, je cherche le cristallin. Et j'aime pas la maturité trop poussée, donc on va toujours ramasser le raisin sur le verre jaune, de façon à garder ces notes cristallines en fait.
Yeah, the color of the grapes just before the press, the color of the grape is really important because he said that he loves the crystallinity.
Yeah, exactly.
The brightness.
It's like a
brightness.
minerality. It's like
yeah, and so the color of the grape is really important because he will pick the grape when they are between a color of green, between the green and the yellow. Not too much yellow, because if it's too much yellow, you will fall onto the sugar and again onto like heavy wines and all this stuff. So he will start to pick between the green and the yellow.
So we had here one question of the client asked, what is the difference between your terroir and the one of Vouvray?
Sur Vouvray, on est sur des Turoniens aussi, sur des expositions un peu différentes de chez nous. Et il y a aussi beaucoup de terroirs sénoniens qu'on va retrouver dans le Clos-Roman tout à l'heure. Maintenant, c'est très proche. Le terroir est assez proche du Saumurois. On est sur le tuffeau, exactement de la même façon. Ouais, et on est, voilà, exactement. Vas-y.
Yeah, it's quite similar. Because you will find back also some Turonian limestone, but a lot of Senonian limestone, like the limestone of the Clos-Romans that we will taste after. So that's the difference. The exposition of the terroir is also different. And the main difference, it's Vouvray is at the north of the Loire River, and we are at the south. So it's the main difference. And so the climate will be different. And I think that's the two main differences that we will find between Vouvray and Saumur.
Vouvray a tendance à donner des vins un peu plus charnus, quoi, un peu plus puissants naturellement, de par leur exposition.
Yeah, Vouvray has this tendency to give some wines more powerful and with more body.
More bitterness, more texture. I think more, a little bit more alcohol. I think most of the appellation, the appellations after, not after, but like before and above the river, above the river are much more powerful, maybe appellations with a little bit more clay. I don't know, clay, maybe schist a little bit more up the river, but it's definitely more powerful terroir over there, just in terms of body and texture for me.
Definitely. Yeah, you're right.
And what is the big difference now? You said the big difference now between l'Echelier and Clos-Roman is the difference between the two.
That's very
the rocks.
Yeah, so that's the rocks, that's the limestone, and so it will be expressed in the aromas, in the profile of the wine as well. So you will see that when you will taste the Clos-Roman, and keep some little bit of Echelier Blanc in your glass to compare with Clos-Roman, because it's made exactly the same, but exactly the same. With the red, some stuff can change. With Echelier and Clos-Roman, it's exactly the same, but the difference, it will be the rock and the limestone. And so the difference will be the aromas that you will have, and also the profile of the wine, the style of the wine.
Le roman, on est toujours sur la fleur, et les épices, c'est le poivre, et échelier, on est sur le salin aussi.
Wow, it's exactly that. What you said, you know, I just pour myself the קלו רומה. אם יש לכם בבית 2 כוסות, שימו את שני הלבנים אחד ליד השני, זאת חוויה מאוד מאוד מיוחדת לראות את זה. It's just, when you told me, you know, it's the spices, I just put it in the nose, and I said, wow, that's really more the spices you have here in the קלו רומה, and really the kind of florality and tranchant way of the échelier.
I agree. קלו רומה is a little bit more powerful wine. You know, the texture, the intensity, maybe the fruit is a little bit more, let's say, louder in the l'échelier, but I think in the tightness and in the potential, in the concentration, the clos roman is just unbelievable, complex and concentrate. As it should be. You know, we talked about Vauvray, Savanière, all of those appellations north to the river, and in texture it's a little bit. It feels like a little bit more, you know, like a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more wider, maybe with
different fat. Yeah. And here you have really, for me, the two wines. It's so nice because you really feel on the same temperature the more coolness you have in l'échelier, and then the more complexity you have in clos roman.
Jean-Claude Ramonet, he said, he's a Montrachet tout saumur.
Clos roman.
Clos roman, yeah.
And the l'échelier we just said is the Corton Charlemagne of, you know, so it's perfect. We have the Corton Charlemagne Montrachet. We don't, if Jean-Claude Ramonet said, we agree. You know, with pleasure. So, yeah, tell us a bit more about your the white. We put the map. Would you like?
We could put the map. Maybe to show the vineyard.
To show them, because there is a big difference, I think, here also where they are.
So l'échelier, originally, l'échelier blanc was called the Clos de l'Échelier blanc because it was coming from one single vineyard, who was the Clos de l'Échelier. But when we opened like all vintage of Clos de l'Échelier, after 2 or 3 years, we could notice that the wine was evolving very quickly. And we didn't want that because it was going towards aroma, like heavy aromas with like, nuts and all this stuff. And it was too quick for us. And we didn't want that. That's why we decided to blend it with another vineyards, with more at the north, so colder, in order to bring back this freshness and this tension. And so l'Échelier, it's a blend between the white who are coming from the Clos de l'Échelier, because we have several rows of white in the Clos, and it's a blend with another vineyards with more at the north and on the same terroir, which is the limestone, the Turonian limestone.
Am I right with what I put?
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. So the blend is between these two vineyards.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Now we know this is the north.
Amazing. And then when we speak about the Clos roman.
Clos roman. So Clos roman, it's coming from a small clos, which is on the what we call the white coast, because it's more toward Parnay. So at the right of the map, the name is Clos Chenin on the map. It's the last vineyards, totally at the right, and it's so the limestone is totally different. And originally, here in this area, all the vineyards that you have was made with Chenin. And in the 90s, in the 80s, more in the 80s, all the winemakers, because it was quite a crisis, and the great variety who was better was Cabernet Franc to make money. They decided to remove all the Chenin to put some Cabernet Franc. And today, all the winemakers are coming back to Chenin because they realized that that's the perfect terroir for Chenin in this area.
Ça s'est planté à 10 000 pieds hectares.
Yeah, and this clos is planted at 10,000 feet per hectare, exactly like the front pieds that we talked about. and directly worked with horses as well. I didn't say it, but I have to say it. All the work with horses is made by my sister and his man. Yeah, at the beginning it was my father, but now my sister took the thing.
Maintenant, moi, on me met sur la touche.
So you have you, Thierry, doing both things, and now you separate it to two. Now you have
Definitely. You know, my father is the brain. He has the philosophy. He knows what he wants to do, and we will follow him until the end.
of course, because he has so much energy that it's not possible for or you or your sister to do it alone. You need from him to make two people, you know? It's
you
like...
understood it. And I think it's better for our mental healthness, our mental thing to just be two. Because only my father can do what he do.
Yes,
to do other.
This is, you know, one man show that, you know, now when you have both of you, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So we have someone saying the nose, the smell of the Chloroma is so floral with violets even as well. It's spectacular. And I think these two whites are really spectacular.
Really spectacular. If Le Chelier pronounce maybe more the fruit character of Chenin, I think the Chloroma just, you know, just gives you all the florality because the fruit is very concentrated. It's still quite tight, but there's a very nice cloud of florality and tons of minerality also in the palate and a lot of salinity on the nose. Then you feel like it's a jump from the Le Chelier. For me, the texture and the complexity, it's just.
If we speak about, if we compare a little bit to the red soil, so for me, if I can say about two, so of course, Le Chelier is more like the Clos de Le Chelier, and the Chloroma is a bit more like the Mémoire.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely. You're right.
It was really, you know,
Thierry likes the combination between red and white wine. Huh?
Really, blind. We will do with you. We will do a blind tasting, but people would first thing they will have to say white or red.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will have some mistake.
Definitely.
With the Clos de Le Chelier, I'm not sure. Yeah, you know, the Le Chelier white, it's maybe a bit more red than the Clos de Le Chelier red.
And my father just said that in the Clos de Le Chelier, in the Chloroma, sorry, you have very small grapes, very, very small grapes. So you can have this sensation of maceration in the taste.
Yeah, you feel like in the texture, in the fruit, it's like surrounding the texture of the wine, the fruit, which I think the Le Chelier is jumping out of the glass.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit funny to say it's surrounding the texture, but I really feel like the balance of Chloroma is between the texture and the concentration on the fruit. And in Le Chelier, it's between the aromatic and the freshness and acidity on the palate.
And it's such a nice thing that, you know, it was so easy for us this tasting, as
very easy as
each of the label is so different. So it was really good for our clients, as you know, that we do all the small ones, we print them, we take from what we get from the domains for the registration, we print in a small size, and you know, it's exactly the same as the regular label. We do it for all the wines. In the start, the winemakers tell us they think we are suspected for frauds. But then we told them, you know, it's much easier to have the label. We are not speaking Rudy wines. Everything is okay. It's 50 milliliter and it's 100, you know. But so it was so nice. It's so nice, you know, to have it also like that, and you know, to have you here, have all the clients at home, having you much easier than you cannot receive 38 clients at the winery at once and do all that. And here they are, each one at his saloon. They don't need to drive home. They don't need to freeze in your cellar, and they can really have it in you know, the environment. And to do those kind of tasting, I think is the best thing we succeed to produce from the.
I think we're doing it
COVID.
over a year for now, and we definitely haven't had enough of this. We want more. I think the clients want more, and I think it's a really, really good way to drink wine, to talk wine, to speak to wine people from all around the world, and just bring this thing that we love very much to a small internet connection, a small video, and then we can all chat and taste the same wines, and we don't have to, okay, I'll come to your place, we'll meet at this hotel at this time with this kind of dinner. You don't always want a big dinner. You sometimes want to sit with you, the winemaker, and just think.
And really, the next time we come to you, the next thing we want to do is go to the vineyard too. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that. Yeah, I wanted to say that. Yeah, it was, and thank you for the organization, because it was really, really cool to see like the map and all the pictures. Because for us, it was easier to present the wines with these tools. So thank you for the organization. Yeah, and my father said with all the Zooms that we made, that the best Zooms that we have made with the organization and all this stuff.
Wow! Oh, thank you very much.
So yeah, thank you.
And here you have a wonderful picture.
The
for
best
you
picture
in the
of the
end,
most,
you know. I can see you in big photo, you know, on the back on the vineyard. Such an amazing thing to see, you know, the father and son get along so great together. And where is the sister on the horse?
Yeah,
Thank you.
And what did you say? Where is the sister? You know, it's because I'm jealous, and I didn't want. She's drinking, and I'm jealous. I didn't want to put some pictures of my sister.
All right.
No, I'm joking, but yeah.
Thank you very much for the compliments, and thank you for those great wines. Really, for me, I really believe on a great future with your wines. Every time more and more and more world recognition, and we will see that coming. I hope we can be a great supporter for the wines now in Israel. Yeah. Later on, maybe in more places, and those wines are really an amazing
eye-opening wines for the Loire Valley, for every Burgundy, Rhone Valley, every fine wine, elegant wine lover. I think this is an eye-opening tasting, especially the elegance, the purity, and you know we known Cabernet Franc in Israel only for the austere, the pyrazine, the little bit off the grid Cabernet Francs. I think to see here also a very natural method of working the vines and working the cellar, and to get this kind of freshness, purity, elegance, precision in the wines. It's remarkable, really.
I think also this is a style of its own, because for me, from one place, you know, you do wines that are very natural way to do wines and natural
this is natural wine, huh?
This is natural wine, but not in the concept of something dirty, go along. Wow, what it's an perfect. Amazing thing, you know.
It's natural wine. It doesn't have bread, no VA.
I think it's unbelievable how the world have more and more recognition of these wines, because this is really kind of non-natural and natural wine together, coming for the right way to do wines.
This is the right way to make
this is a very true, and it has a lot of truth. Huh? This is really wine of truth. Thank you very much. And
you are welcome you are welcome at the estate.
We will do, and our client will be happy as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, you are welcome. All you are welcome at the estate.
And excuse me for my English.
No, you have very good English. You just prefer to hide it. It's okay. It's like Roberto Conterno, huh? When before I start to work with him, he spoke only Italian and had a translator. When we start to work together, I was to him 3 weeks ago. We eat lunch, you know, something together. He come to me, speak English. I said, oh my God, you speak also English, huh? So I understand the point of view, huh? You do everything to perfection. It's not easy for you to speak English without this kind of perfection, but we don't have problem with that. And we don't mind to mumble on French as well.
No problem at all. We're happy to do it. Thank you very much, Thierry, Louis.
Thank you.
Hopefully the next tasting will be vertical on the table in Tel Aviv.
I come, Daniel, I come in Tel Aviv with a big bottle of all vintage.
Yes.
No
With
You have 38
Mathusalem.
clients to drink it.
Yeah, with Mathusalem. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank
That's
you
a
very
Thank you very
much,
much.
Thierry.
Thank you.
Good night. See you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.